All right, guys. For those of you tuning in, make sure I got a sound check here. Just a second. All right, guys. For those of you tuning in, perfect. So, forgive me. I'm not going to be incredibly organized with this. I'm just going to share my screen as I analyze this model run coming in. This is the 18Z ECMWF, which is coming in right now. Literally, as we watch this model here, we're just watching the track. This is out to 27 hours, and we want to look for initially we want to look at initialization, where the storm is at currently. The model's doing pretty well. Model's doing pretty well with where it's currently at. 0Z forecast plot here, with the center of it being just about 24 north and about 88 west, 89 west, perhaps. So the latest run coming in certainly looks like it's making a pretty quick north turn. This is the 18Z run. We'll see if I can compare it to the 12Z run for you, just to get a good idea. This run too, also looking pretty impressive with the low thus far. 942 pressure by 24 hours. So here we are out to hour 30. This would be tomorrow evening. We're looking here at 7 p.m. And I apologize, I'm really not going to be able to take questions. I'm just looking at this live. Again, initialization looks good for the model based on current satellite loop, which puts the center, again, right around 25 and close to 89, 25 north, 89 west, with explosion and convection here to the west, which of course the satellite's kind of blacking out on me at the moment. But I like the location that the model has at the start of the model, which is always a good sign. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but this run is certainly much further east so far. This is probably going to end up a hit right on the Louisiana-Texas border with this 18Z European. Pressure 948, hour 33, which is going to come in around 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow night. What's interesting to note is that when we look at the overall setup right now, satellite view here, courtesy of weathernerds.org, we are noticing at least a westward movement along the 25 north line here, but a little bit of a northwest movement as well. There's no doubt about that, and just trying to get see if we can get a good take on this here. You know, you can spend hours looking at satellite imagery here, trying to get a good take on things. And let's see here. Perfect streaming. Get you an updated loop. Here we go. So there's definitely a west-northwest, movement going on with this. But it looks like the latest 18Z ECMWF is actually a landfall completely east of Texas and now actually into probably Louisiana. Big shift east in the European. Yeah, so compared to 12Z or even 0Z, you can see how much of a jog east this is versus 0Z last night or just this morning. This is the 12Z run from this morning. You can see it's quite a bit further east by probably about 30 to 40 miles. Hard to make an exact assumption there, but I would say it's probably about a 45-mile jog to the east on the latest European here. So that's certainly an interesting run of the European model. No doubt about that. It would make landfall Thursday morning around 4 or 5 o'clock. It's actually a little bit of a slower forecast as well, as the previous run would have had landfall closer to 2 or 3 a.m. So it's a couple hours slower, but it's still a very strong landfall at the time. Looks like about 941, 942 pressure. What's interesting is that anytime you see the modeled pressure, that you can always probably drop about 15 to 20 millibars off of that, and you're probably getting down closer to 925 is possible. So definitely an east tick. Going straight up into, you can see what it's doing here, going straight up on the state line of Texas and Louisiana here. Let's go into our ECMWF regions here. So the consensus is what looked like a west trend for the last 36 hours has trended back east over the last 6 hours. Let's see here what we look like, 18Z. So you can kind of see what this storm looks like, and I think this can be a pretty big, this can have an impact that's big, and you're going to have a lot of problems with surge, with wind, with rain. That's going to expand outside of just exactly where this storm makes landfall. All right, I think that's very important to understand here. So you can see the wind gust swath forecast. You take these with a grain. This is not the end-all be-all here. Obviously, when you look at this from Houston east, you're still looking at 50-plus mile per hour wind gusts being possible. And then getting over into the Bolivar Peninsula, towards Port Arthur, of course, and Cameron, Louisiana. You're looking at wind gusts be the strongest actually in the southwestern, very far southwestern tip of Louisiana on this run. So it's interesting. Nonetheless, the wind field may be a little bit larger than this, just based on kind of what we're seeing here, just the general size of this, storm system. The convection, it's exploding here on the western edge of the storm here. We'll probably have a pretty decent eye wall in the next probably 6 hours, pretty decent eye overall. But there's no question we've seen a tick back east now in the data. This would be very good news if this were to be correct for the Houston area, Galveston area. Okay, there's no doubt about it. This would be great news, but it would be horrible news for the far southwestern portion of Louisiana and Cameron. It would probably be even more horrible news for the Louisiana coastline, of course. On the right side of the storm surge, the wave height, it would be catastrophic. So situations like these, you don't wish anyone to get it more than the other person. But you have to adjust. You know, you have to watch this stuff come in and make the proper adjustments. The 0Z data will definitely be telling, as you'll get some upper air soundings sampled into the storm, and we'll get some good data coming in here to better assess this. But that's certainly a east trend on that data. If we compare that to the previous run, you can see what I'm talking about here. This is the 12Z run here. You see how much further west the swath of wind was that covered the eastern Houston, the harbor here. Okay. So certainly very interesting overall evolution tonight in the 18Z data for the European model. Now, here's what's even a little bit more fascinating with this. And I feel like it's important that we share this. This was a look here at the previous. I'm going to slide this over here into my screen. These are the last 5 European computer model runs, the operational European. And so what's very interesting about this is, as you can see, a huge clustering of runs over the Houston, Galveston area. And now all of a sudden we've shifted back east by about 100 miles. And, you know, to see shifts like that this close isn't extraordinarily rare, but it is somewhat, you know, not as common. All right, that's the European. You know, looking at this is the EPS mean here. You can see the overall shifting taking place. Now, something that we were looking at earlier is we're looking at where's the current center of LoRa based on where the European ensembles would have it, and it's on the north end of those ensemble members. And so what that would suggest is that, you know, when you look at this closer to landfall, the northern, you know, the right side of those ensemble members may have a little bit more merit with respect to the track, which would be closer to the Louisiana-Texas border. Okay. Here's something that you know you really want to consider. You know, we leave an 80-mile, you know, basically swath or width of an area for error in the track. So if current model consensus has it here, you have to understand that the error can be as far as 80 miles west or east. So you have to understand that, you know, you're still looking at, you know, this to this, which is exactly the NHC cone at the moment. But that's the variance here. The eye can end up here just as easy as it can be here or here. So you don't want to necessarily focus completely on the eye of the storm, albeit the eye and just to the right of it is where you're going to have catastrophic weather occur. No question. But guys, when you're talking about something, it's amazing that we even are able to get this close, you know, 24 to 30 hours out. We're about 30 hours out from when this should make landfall. So it's amazing that we can even get this close with it. But you have to understand that the slightest wobble can make all the difference here with this storm system as it approaches the coastline of either Texas or Louisiana. It's a difficult forecast. What once looked like we had some good confidence, you know, now the confidence is kind of getting shaky with going back to the east. Now, here's another interesting take. These are all of the morning 12Z models all the morning 12Z models. You know, you can kind of see all of these possible outcomes. It's remarkable to see all the possibilities here. You know, so really what it comes down to is now we're getting into this, you know, this scenario where it's a nowcast situation. Of course, models are still useful; they're tools, but it's an outcast situation. So the writing, there's no silver bullet here. There's no writing on the wall as of right now. I can, guarantee you that. So what we'll do, what we're going to want to do now is wait for the EPS, the ensembles, to come in. We have a flight recon going in. Looks like minimum pressure is 983 on the latest drop. 983 is the minimum pressure right now of LoRa. You can see it out here, looking pretty impressive. It's certainly getting its act together relatively quickly, no doubt about that. I'm looking at a few things here over on the other screen. Again, I apologize. I just don't have the mental capacity to take the questions at the moment. I'm learning as I go with tonight's setup right now. The other thing too is these are minute by minute fluctuations and changes. Minute by minute for sure. Okay. So our next order of business again is we're going to want to watch the ensembles. We watched the morning. We looked at I showed you the morning run of the ensembles, and where those were going to go. Here is 12Z EPS, and you can see it's the EPS is far west of the Louisiana-Texas border. The 6Z was even way further west, the overnight run. It was southwest of Houston. So huge shifts going on right now. Huge. It's just unprecedented. You just can't, you can't foresee shifts like that in what's supposed to be some of the best modeling in the world. I don't know if we have a new UK Met ensemble here from the Weather Nerds platform. Still 0Z. There's your GFS ensembles from the afternoon run, and taking that storm right into, right where the European just took it. So again, we're seeing that convergence here, about a 50 to 60 mile shift east. Again, if you look at the just east of Galveston to here, you're about 50 mile shift. Okay. If you have questions, if you tweet at me at BAMWXCOM, C-O-M, I can answer them that way. It's a way for me to keep track of them. At BAMWXCOM. If you tweet at me, I can answer questions. All right? But I'm not monitoring the stream, so I don't know what questions you're asking right now, if any are being asked. Yeah, so someone just tweeted, what about the UK Met model from a few hours ago showing a closer west track? Absolutely. that is something that, the UK Met model was handling things very well. It was the best handling model. In fact, I have skills from that model somewhere. I have to find the screenshot. I've got 154 screenshots on my desktop right now. I just can't find it. But the UK Met was the best scoring model up until this point. Now, just because it was the best doesn't mean it will continue to be the best. Understand? There's a difference. It doesn't. Past performances don't dictate future ones. So let me look here at UK Met. This was 12Z. Okay, 12Z had a landfall really right over Galveston. I don't have the best. Let me log in here and get rid of these ads. I don't have the best. UK Met, the data is limited. Get you here real quick. But there was the 12Z, okay? The previous run was here where the euro is now. So you certainly cannot write off Houston. And William says, do you expect the trend back to the west with the 0Z models coming tonight? I don't know. At this rate, it's really hard to tell. But the window for error right now, in my opinion, is probably close to 100 miles until we're just, through tomorrow morning probably. Okay, so the UK Met definitely a further west solution, as you can see, this morning's run. No question about that. Someone said, so perhaps the upgraded Euro that has issues this summer, beyond 10 to 14 days, looks to have tropical issues as well. David, that's possible. I mean, that's an assumption. I don't know without researching and documenting and tracking scores. And you can't, it's dangerous to make those types of assumptions, but it's possible. Certainly possible. Let's see. Storm McAdams said, "I'm confused. I'm so confused on where this is going." Yeah, I mean, it's there's a range of possibilities right now. Okay, there is the. Here is this. My team sent me this. Here's the error or the biases for the computer models. Again, you can see the green painted down here, being the UK Met, how much less of an error it's had in its last three runs versus the actual location of the storm. Okay, so that's certainly interesting because when you look at the ECMWF, it's had quite the problem with its 48-hour forecast and a big issue. A lot of these models have. And so theoretically, when you look at this, when you look at these biases, you would say, oh, the UK Met's the go-to. But again, past performances do not dictate future ones with computer models. They just don't. Atmosphere changes, things change, and all of a sudden it could be right. But if the UK Met is correct, and get you, that's what you're dealing with here. Is landfall just east of the Galveston Bay area, which is our current forecast. So, stand by. Again, if you have any more questions, yeah, you're right. The UK Met hasn't ran since this morning. There's no doubt. Someone tweeted and said, "Hey, the UK Met hasn't ran in 7 hours." Absolutely, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, when you look at the error in the modeling, it wouldn't matter because they've all been so bad at 24, 48 hour lead time. Even the new models may not matter, but you never know. I may have a spot where I might be able to somehow find those UK Met ensembles. So this here is from Alan Huffman. These are all of the 12Z morning model runs. The UK Met and the UK Met Ensemble mean are, certainly just east of the Galveston area. But again, these were morning runs. You understand? So there are new runs coming in. Okay. Another interesting tool I think it's important to show, let me pull it up here. I found these interesting earlier, looking at the threats and the impacts here when looking at LoRa overall. And I wanted to share these. You can see that the wind threat here from at least the latest official NHC guidance would have potential for 110 mile per hour wind. Whoop, sorry about that. From Lake Charles over towards the far eastern portion of the Houston harbor there. Okay, Beaumont, Lake Charles, along Interstate 10 here. You would have a potential for wind greater than 110 miles per hour. Again, we can zoom in on this a little bit more. You can see kind of what I'm talking about here. Certainly, if we go into, looks like the Bolivia Peninsula, if I'm saying that correctly, certainly at impact for that. Storm surge threat, obviously potential for storm surge and flooding greater than 9 feet. That's bad news, very, very bad news. All the way around along the coast of Louisiana, this would be complete devastation, catastrophic, bad deal. And then, obviously here, still storm surge greater than 6 feet above ground. Okay, this is for the Houston, eastern side of Houston harbor here, and looking at, again, the port, Bolivia Peninsula, if I'm saying that correctly. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Someone said you were a Euro guy yesterday, but now UK. Yeah, that's fair. Sure. I have to adjust. I can't stay the same if everything's going back east. There's nothing you can do about that. But these are certainly, tell you that you don't want to just go off the eye of the storm where it's going to hit. Potential for major flooding rain is certainly high here. Tornado threat, potential for a few tornadoes on the east side of this, but the wind threat is remarkable. The storm surge threat, these are all very remarkable graphics and forecasts here. It would be a very bad situation. regardless, again, of where the eye goes. I can't stress that enough. We can't just be looking at the eye of the storm in this situation. Yeah, it's definitely, Kevin, it's definitely more east as of this evening. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Definitely more east. Okay. Which is great news for Houston. It's horrible news for folks east. Again, you don't wish one more than the other. Of course, you wish it goes away from one spot, but so it looks like we may have found the 12Z UK Met ensembles. My guys here working for me, working hard. I appreciate that. I will make these a screenshot so we can zoom in. So here is the 12Z UK Met ensembles. And we will go down here. Yeah, this is interesting. Again, make your assumptions that here's the far western edge. You're all the way over here. If you're looking at the UK Met ensembles, and the mean being this line right here. Okay, that's the mean from the UK Met ensemble, just east of Galveston, just west of the Texas-Louisiana border. All right, and so again, if we're talking about a spread, and how far of a spread that is, that's a 115-mile spread. Okay, 115-mile spread that's still, presenting the possibility of tracks here, of where this can go. So again, someone just messaged me, Jay. Appreciate that, Jay, if you're still watching. Bolivar Peninsula. Gotcha. Thank you. That's great. Okay. Okay. So those UK Met ensembles are certainly interesting. But again, it doesn't give us the silver bullet. It doesn't give us the answer, if you will, at all. So what I want to do right now is show you our official forecast for the time being. This was our official forecast as of 4 p.m. And I'm going to zoom in here. You can see we are east of. We are in the location there that I just got done pronouncing, Bolivar Peninsula. Okay, that was our 4 p.m. forecast, Category 4 hurricane. So it's east of Houston, right? But west of Port Arthur, east of Galveston a little bit here. Now, in our forecast today to our customers, we have a few very large customers down here in the Houston harbor, which is why we care about this so much. But in our forecast today, we said we wanted to allow for a 50-mile variance in the air, which currently the evening data would favor that side. But again, very similar to that of the UK Met ensemble, which again, I'm just seeing those. We've been looking for those all day because they hadn't updated. So I'm glad to see those, being that model's doing the best according to the bias scores. I'm glad to see that match. Okay. I'm not mad about that. So I'm just kind of going over things and discussing this with you. And what I'm going to do is wait for the evening EPS to come in, which is going to be in about another 20 minutes or so. You're welcome to hang out, ask questions. You can tweet me at BAMWXCom. And you can just, if you want to use hashtag live or something, you can just tweet me and ask me questions. Happy to discuss. For those of you, saying that you're confused, you don't know where this is going to go, there's not an answer yet. It just doesn't matter who you talk to or what source you're watching. There is not an answer on where this is going to go. Okay? Let me tell you. Let me be straightforward with you. 2 days ago, everybody had it going right here. Okay? We've made big shifts. I mean, 4 days ago, it was like into here. So things have adjusted significantly. All right? It's not, there's not a, again, a solid answer right now. It just doesn't exist. And if you think there should be one, your expectations in how weather forecasting they're not right. They're not correct. So it's important you understand these things. Okay. Let's see here. Checking the latest tweets here. All right, so currently it looks like we have a 981 area of low pressure. Okay. Anyways. So going forward here, guys, hey, Michael, this is Rick. How confident are we in the strength of Laura as it head towards landfall? Rick, hope you're doing well, buddy. Long time no talk. Right now, we're pretty confident in the strength. I definitely think we can be looking at a high-end Category 3 or Category 4 hurricane. I definitely think that's a possibility for sure. So I think that the strength confidence is decent right now, as there's really nothing ahead of this thing that would impede development. Kind of really have all systems go for rapid intensification. All right. Do you think we can expect a western jog again with the models? I can't rule it out, but it's hard to predict the model, It's hard to predict the model. Given the current satellite trends placed with the morning model run, these east trends may have merit. We're going to know at 0Z. That's just it. We're going to know when those models come in. If your projection 50 miles east of Houston holds, what effects can be expected in Houston Metro? That's really a great question, and I talked about this earlier, but in the Houston Metro, you can still anticipate some of these things. Well, the Houston Metro, okay, let's back up here a minute. In the Houston Metro, there's a potential for wind to be 58 to 73 miles per hour. I don't disagree with this. It's a big storm, When you get into the harbor, that's where I get concerned. There's a lot of stuff going on there. You still have the potential for winds greater than 110 miles per hour. Okay? So let's see here. Odds of landfall in Freeport. Let's see. I gotta get my Freeport's at. Top of my head, I just don't know where Freeport is. I'm going to have to find that. I'm going to try to answer some of these questions I just got sent to me. Odds of landfall in Freeport are really low, for sure. Definitely low there. What winds would you expect in Houston Metro? Again, I think those 58 to 73 mile per hour winds are certainly possible on the outskirts of this. How likely is the model more towards Galveston Bay? I would say right now it's literally a 50-50 shot of this 80 mile model wobble. All right. I think we'll know a lot more by tomorrow morning. Okay. I still do think that Category 4 is certainly on the table here. No question about it. Okay. So this is interesting. Via the latest flight recon data, we have found the center that is, again, south of 25 north. It's 24.7, which is where we had drawn this up earlier. I had drawn it right here, 24.7, 88.5. That's where we had it. Again, it's meaning that a lot of the European ensembles were just too south at the moment. That's just what it means. So it's an error in the modeling. Okay. Great questions, guys. I appreciate the questions. Go back to this. Again, for those of you joining, I'm just analyzing things. This is a disorganized live stream. I don't have a schedule or an agenda. I'm just going over things and kind of how we forecast and what things that we look at. So overall, looking at this, this is a healthy looking storm. The eye is pretty big. Overall, it looks pretty healthy. So, yeah, we're probably sitting right around 980 millibars for the central pressure, which some of these members have done pretty well with that with the intensity forecast. If we look at the European a little bit ago on its initialization of this. Let's see see if I can. Yeah, I can't get that far. Thank you, Rick. I hope you're doing well. Appreciate you watching, buddy. Very tough forecast, but hey, when is it not tough? It seems like no matter what we're looking at, we're always looking at something challenging. So. Yeah, someone said I'm not expecting any more westward shifts. I mean, I just can't really say. It's hard for me. I just don't know. That's something I can't answer. It's just something I can't answer. Let me go back here. That's not it here. So the 18Z, European intensity forecast was about spot on. So no reason to discredit that. We will start getting EPS tracks. Not quite yet, but here in a little bit we'll start getting the ensembles to come in. That will give us a little bit better idea. Again, here's the morning ensembles. Again, you can see how far west those were. Very close to the UK Met ensemble, you know, that I showed a little bit ago. Yeah, overall, I don't have any problems with how the 18Z European initialized and handled the current track of the storm, or the current setup. So there's no reason to discredit the Europeans' forecast of it being further east. Christy Miller, what factors would cause the storm to move west if it does? A couple of things would matter. We're going to pull that up now, checking some upper air soundings to get an idea. But here's what we would want to look at in this situation is the 500 millibar height forecast from the European model, and this would tell us the strength of the upper level ridge. Okay, and essentially, we want to look at initialization. We want to look at these 0Z heights. Yeah, that's it. Let's see if I can get a better view for you. So here's the Gulf of Mexico view, and we want to look at the 500 millibar heights. Of what they should be right now. So we're going to check a sounding in New Orleans and Lake Charles area to see what they should be versus what the model has. Now, what this would mean is, I'll screenshot this so I can draw on it. What this would mean is, in this situation, is as this tracks, you know, up into here, which is what the latest run does, the heights would dictate the steering. So the latest sounding, upper air sounding at 0Z, would suggest 592 heights just southwest here, southwest Louisiana. Actually, hang on here. I told you incorrectly. So here was the area we took the sounding for, right here, southwest Louisiana. The sounding shows at that time 592 heights, okay? The model does not quite have that, as this is the 591 height contour. Meaning, theoretically, the model is slightly underdoing the strength of the upper level ridge, which means it could be a little bit more expansive and further west, which could indicate a farther west track. Okay, that if I had to make a prediction, if you will, as if will the evening model runs come west, it's possible based on this. Okay. Again, not a guarantee, right? It's just an observation. That's something that's very important to note overall. Okay. Amateur question. Andrew says, "What does Z stand for?" Z is Zulu time. So 0Z is 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Z is like global time. If Christy, if you're still watching, you know, this is the factor here that's really going to have a large impact on the steering of LoRa, is whether or not this expands west. Now, if I go back here and I look at the model image, at the model forecast, you can see as we go forward, that ridge tries to retreat some. Okay. It tries to back it off a little bit. Theoretically, in synoptic meteorology, a trough isn't ever really going to move a ridge. Low pressure isn't going to really move high pressure. So you have to question, does that actually happen? You know, it's difficult. That's a difficult question. You look at the European ensemble on landfall, and you can see it's a little bit further west with the heights, but it still tries to suggest that a little bit of movement is possible. Okay, so European ensemble has the 591 heights here. The ridge certainly going to squeeze it west a little bit. When you look at the GEFS, the ensemble, look how much further east it is with the ridge. Did you see the difference there? Big difference. This is big deal. All right, here's the ECMWF. I'll show you this. The time of landfall. There's the ECMWF mean. There's the GEFS mean. You see how much weaker and further east the ridge is? That's going to make it's going to be a big deal in this forecast. Canadian means a little bit further west with the ridge, a little bit stronger with it. Okay. That's just something to watch. The JMA model, which is the Japanese computer model, is west, a little bit stronger. So it's west of the Texas-Louisiana border, but it's east of Galveston. It's in that little spot. It's remarkable to see these differences at just 30 hours out. Again, it's not something that's all that common to see. Okay. So again, for those of you that are still hanging with us, there's quite a few of you, it looks like. We are going to wait on the ensembles to come in, which it looks like they are coming in now. So we're going to go there and get an update on this. 18Z LoRa. Here's our ensembles coming in. This is going to be our focus for now. Let's do this. I'm actually going to show you. I want to be able to compare these side by side. So I'll pull these here so you can see these. Compare it to the previous run is what we're going to be doing, essentially. So here's 12Z. See what I have. It looks like I'm out to 18 hours, which is Wednesday morning. I'm going to show you the morning run here from Wednesday morning. 12Z on the right, old run on the right, new on the left. Okay, again, we're looking at the European ensembles. So if anything, the new run is definitely a little bit further north. When you look at the comparisons here, there's 24, there's 30. We're out to hour 30. That's going to be 0Z tomorrow night, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Tighter consensus pretty similar to the 12Z on the ensemble. This ensemble run may hint at possibly that the operational run was an outlier to the east. We're going to find out in just a second. Christy, the reason for that is the models are handling the strength of the ridge differently. So there's different models that have the strength stronger of the ridge or weaker of the ridge. That's really and the trough in Texas plays a big part in this forecast. Hour 36. So we can see here it's definitely we're going to go to Thursday 6Z. It's definitely east of 12Z a little bit. So 12Z would have shown right into the Galveston area. This is going a little bit east. Waiting on 42 to come in. So we're tightening the track. Okay. There it is. So here's your latest track from the ensemble. The stronger solution, the stronger ensemble forecasts are still favoring the eastern Galveston area. Okay. Still strong forecasts, but not as strong, are favoring southwest Louisiana. So I think it's going to depend on the intensity forecast or the intensity of Laura. Okay, here's your comparisons. New left, old right. And again, I'm going to screenshot so I can show you what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to call it a night here in about 10 minutes. But you can see what I'm talking about. The purple runs are the stronger indications, the stronger forecasts from the model. So you can see a clustering of those a little bit further to the west. All right, you see that? Actually, there's some in here. Now there's one that's right here, obviously. No ignoring that. Something else that's interesting too is the current initialization. Yeah, would favor something like this. Current storm location, current intensity, something like this, which is, kind of what we just talked about a little bit ago. So the ensemble is still, the ensemble's west of the operational, which means that the 0Z can come back west a little bit. This is west of the NHC storm track. It's east of our storm track. It's in the middle between NHC and ours. But again, some of these stronger storms are farther west. Maybe another way to look at this real quick. So by hour 36, here's your locations. Here's your low locations. Okay, hard to see right now. There's a clustering of where they may go. Yeah. Okay. That's going to kind of wrap up my stream this evening. I'll show you with what I've seen. I'll show you what I would, if there's any changes in our forecast, which we won't change based on 18Z runs. If there's any changes that I would make, that I would, if I had to make one, we are currently the black dotted line. If I had to make an adjustment based on evening runs, I'd be probably right about here on the eye of the storm. Okay, on the eye. If I had to make that call, could be tough to say, but this is probably where I would end up for now, if there had to be some adjustments made to the evening run. Okay. So we'll watch 0Z come in. Again, anticipate an 80-mile air east or west at the moment because we're still seeing a lot of wobbling going on. We'll keep you posted. I appreciate you all tuning in, and we'll post updates as they come in. You guys have a great evening.